Alright, troops, welcome to the Action Elite. My name is Owen, and tonight I'm joined by J-Man, Charlie, and John. How are you guys?
What's happening?
Awesome.
Ready to
Tonight,
go?
oh yeah. So tonight we're going to be talking about the Gary Daniels classic Recoil, and I don't know if J-Man or Charlie had watched it before. Had you?
Nope, first time.
This is your introduction to the absolute greatness, because this movie is just 90 minutes of wall-to-wall action. The opening scene is like 20 minutes of just action. It's just got epic shootout, car chase, fight scenes. It's just like, how much can you fit into the opening scene? And it's all like real action. It's like real explosions, stunts. That stunt at the end, whenever it jumps off the car, that's like awesome. That's it's an amazing action scene. And then you got that little twist halfway through. I love this movie. It delivers exactly what you would want from an action movie. It's like 90 minutes of just adrenaline. So, Jay, so what did you think of it then for your first time?
Yeah, well, man, I liked it. It's 19 minutes and 23 seconds of action in the beginning, and I timed it because it's like, wow, this is really long. I'm like, there's a lot going on here. It starts off crazy, and then there's a lot of stunts, and like the car chase with the guys, Gary Daniels and the guy fighting like through the sunroof, and he's trying to kind of get in, and they're like messing with each other. That goes on a long time, and holy crap! Like I'm like, I mean, we've watched so many movies now, but I was still like, whoa, like holy shit! And my wife usually sits next to me and just reads her comics or whatever, and I was like, oh. I was like, she's like, well, you hardly ever react. Like, I don't really, I usually sit like this and watch movies. And then even when the movie's over, no, I don't do that.
Okay.
I don't do the shill face. Oh my God. No, I usually watch movies like this. And then when it's over, I'm like, wow, that was a great movie. Oh.
And our special guest tonight has just arrived. If you're a fan of Recoil, please welcome the director himself, Mr. Art Camacho. Hey, how are you?
Hey guys.
Hello.
Thank you so much, man. I'm pain in the
Welcome.
butt. I couldn't get on my laptop, my desktop. I'm there.
Doing great.
Well, you're here now, and that's all that matters. So thank you for joining us. You're actually our first ever special guest.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, brother. Thank you so much for all your support over the years, man. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, of course, it's absolute pleasure. And you know how much I love Recoil. I mean, I talk to you about it every time we chat. So I thought, well, why don't we do a live stream discussing the movie? And then we got a whole bunch of questions to ask about it. And actually, J-Man here and Charlie have just watched Recoil for the first time. So we're just sort of getting their thoughts on it for the first time. And J-Man is just talking about that. So we're just going to let him finish, and then we'll just start asking the various questions. So, Jay, if you want to continue.
Sure. Well, a pleasure to meet you. It's great to have you on here. This is really exciting for me.
Oh, thanks, brother.
I mean, this movie was fantastic. I was kind of blown away a little bit, and we've seen so many movies throughout the years, with like the effects, and it starts to get a little bit almost to the fantastical realm with some of these Fast and the Furious and stuff. It starts to get a little bit more fancy. Right. This was like such a grounded, like pure skill, just like the choreography, the I was talking about the car chase where Gary Daniels and the guy, they're fighting in the sunroof. I mean, this is incredible. And my wife is not an action film fan, so she usually is reading her books while I'm watching these movies on a 65-inch 65-inch surround stuff. And and normally I watch movies, like I kind of watch them like this, and I'm a movie guy, right? But this one I was like, whoa, oh, and she's like, what the heck? You're never this animated. I was like, you got to watch this. So I was pausing the movie, I was rewinding. I was like, no, you got to check this stunt out. And I'm like, these are guys really doing it. And it's just, there's a feel to it. The excitement level is way higher when you know that it's real humans performing these incredible feats in front of you, and the capturing it on the camera. The direction is amazing. I'll tell you that right now. You have captured some great stuff on, and when that explosion, I was like, holy shit, like what the hell? Like, how is this? What is happening here? I watched it 3 times, like, okay, all right, we got to rewind this and watch this part again. I watched the entire action scene twice over, and then that part I rewound a third time. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Oh my God. And then the fights were kick ass, man. Oh my God. Gary Daniels. Woo. Now I've seen him in Fist of the North Star, but
Gary is amazing. He did, the fights I attribute 100% to him. He really wanted to really go all out. And I said, do your thing, brother. I'll capture it on film. You do your thing.
Yeah.
You know?
I love the way you shot that too, because you could see, I'm a little bit tired, and we've sort of complained about this, being these action nerds, complaining about some of the editing nowadays, and you've got some of these where you can't really tell, and right. they can make me look like a martial arts expert if they want to now, right? You know what I'm saying? So, but right. Like, I love how you just showed it, and it's like, and it's one of these movies where I felt, man, like I almost felt a little bit jealous that, you know, I wish I'd had money to produce something like this, because it's just so real. And it was an amazing movie, a lot of fun. 19 minutes and something of action. Oh my God, I was like worn out. The movie just started. I'm like, whoa, I'm sweating. This thing's crazy. Like,
the funny thing was, at that time, when we took it to the film market, it boasted being, at that time, the longest, that opening scene was the longest film chase in independent film history at that point in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. You know, and again, a lot of it, Spiro Rosato's an incredible stunt coordinator. He does all the Fast and Furious now. Mm-hmm. But I attribute most of that to him, because he's just a genius. He's, you know, amazing. And I learned so much from him. I want to touch on real quick on the limousine explosion that you talked about. We were going to initially, the idea that Spiro had was to do the chase the way it was. It's an incredible chase, and then roll it down the side, because we had like a riverbed. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what? Why don't we cut it in half? That's a long car. Why don't we just cut it in half? So he designed it in such a way that we only had one take. You know, one take, because this is real, and we're right. Low budget for our time. And so what we did, literally, we saw the car in half, anchored these sides, put 30 gallons of gasoline inside, glue all over the car, put the stuntman on a big harness, and then had that semi coming, I think, 30, 40 miles an hour. And everything had to hit just right. So you're like this, you know, you're please. And when it happened, it is like, wow, you know. You hear the iron crunching, yes. Feel the explosion, and I'm telling you, brother, even for me, when I look back at some of these films we did, because again, PM Entertainment was the king of action films, independent action films at that time. Pre-CGI, there's no CGI in there, nothing. It's real fires, real risks, real people in those cars, you know?
Yeah.
Was that the toughest scene? Was that, would you say that was the toughest scene that you had to put together, or?
It was the toughest one. The other one that was looked scarier than what it was, but still everything that's scary is when the opening scene with the motorcycle and when the car hits pipe ramps. But here's the thing, again, I attribute Spiro. He hit it so high. He told me, so I'm gonna hit that. We're gonna, you know, my guys are gonna hit that street lamp, and that's why we put an explosion in the street lamp. So that car just went flying, hit that street lamp. And the way we composed it looks like it's almost hitting the motorcycle, you know, it lands.
Right.
It was amazing. I'm telling you, brother, it was, we had literally, we shot it in 15 days, but having said that, all of the 15 days, we had 3 units going on. I had 2 units, and Spiro had the chase unit. So I would come in where we're working with the actors. He'd be doing all that stuff. I was doing the bank, you know, the explosion, and it's so funny because what we did behind Gary, there was a scene in the beginning. He takes a shot, and then we blow up a car behind him, and it was far enough to be safe, but close enough for him to feel the back of the
nice.
Put
him through the ringer, man. Let's go. We're filming action movie. This isn't a drama. Let's do it.
This is not for sissies, man.
That's probably one of my favorite things in this movie is you realize how close they are to everything. Yeah. CGI explosions behind someone and a fan blowing their hair doesn't sell it. When you're like, he got singed. He's got a suntan on the back of his neck.
You see him just quite slightly.
Exactly.
Oh
That's
man.
the whole point of the genre as well, though, is that you're watching it to be impressed by the stunts and the action. That's the whole thing about when you're watching CG or whatever else, you're sort of like,
Right.
okay, yeah, I mean it's okay, but it's not real.
Yeah.
There's no thrill there. But I love watching the real thing, the real stunts. I mean, every scene of this. I mean, the reason these films hold up and why they always will hold up is because they are real. And like I said, the boys here, I've just watched Recoil for the first time, and blown away by it because we don't get to see many action movies like I said anymore. It's all it's mostly superhero movies these days or whatever else, which are fine and have their own place. But in terms of like the old school 90-minute action movies,
Oh yeah.
we just don't get that many now.
Yeah,
Right.
even the Fast and the Furious. I mean, I love them, but they got too fantastical.
Yeah.
The rigging, and we had no. I'm telling you, man, there was no rigging in those days. It was just Joseph Murphy and PM Entertainment. They created such great action pieces at that time, and this was it was my third film directing, and I graduated in Joseph's eyes to these action films, and a funny story behind it, real quick, is that Joseph had asked me. Joseph is the M at PM Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he had asked me like a couple weeks before. He says, "Art, we have another film to do with Gary Daniels in the contract, and I want you to direct it. So come up with a story idea." And honestly, I'd forgotten all about it. I forgot completely. I mean, I've been working so much. One morning, I wake up. It's one of those lazy mornings. It's like, what was it? What was it I had to do? Holy shit! I swear to God, I phased out. I'm showering and I'm trying to come up with a story idea because I have to pitch to him because he's going to sign the deal, right? And so, okay, there's a gun. I'm scratching, showering, and literally from the moment I stepped in the shower to the moment I hit the studio, I came up with a story for Recoil. It was just nerve-wracking. I told Joseph at that time in LA there had been a robbery, which is this very famous robbery because two guys held all of LAPD at gunpoint. I mean,
wow.
they outgunned LAPD. I mean, officers were going down all around in Los Angeles at that time. So that's what the pitch was: the B of A robbery times 10. Instead of one guy or two guys, let's have six guys. Instead of this, let's have cars. Let's have And that was the pitch for Recoil. It's so funny, but I tell you, man, it was an amazing experience working with Gary, Joseph, and a film of that stature. Because if you remember the opening, we had the scene inside the bank, shooting and robbing, then outside the bank with the grenades and all that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And those scenes, we only had the bank for 2 days, so I was directing inside and outside simultaneously. So I go in there, direct the action scene, cut while they're resetting there, run outside. Okay, throw the grenade, cut. And even at one point, the thing about me, I'm very determined. I'm not the most skilled person in the world, but I'm very determined. And I had if you guys know the films, there's assistant directors, second assistants, and all that stuff. The assistant director we had at the time, the first assistant, was very abusive to the crew. Mm-hmm. And one day I had it because he had made I think the makeup girl cry. I mean, he really abused her. So I started, chewing him out. And he said, "I'm quitting and I'm taking my assistant with me." And this is a big action day, right? Mm-hmm. We have to cops, we have to stop traffic. Mm-hmm. I said, bleep, 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 took his walking. And here I am directing, assistant director. Okay, cops, stop the traffic. Okay,
oh my God.
Running inside and action. It was crazy, brother. Crazy, man.
And did you say, I'm sorry, did you say the entire movie was shot in 15 days? Is that what? Yeah. Yes. Oh my God, that's crazy. That's insane.
I mean, but we had two. I had 1.5 units that I was running, and then Spiro had a unit. So we were just jamming. I'm telling you, brother, it was insane in those days. PM had a thing where they did not want to shoot films in more than 15 to 18 days.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, I've heard of productions. It's like 5 days for one fight or something. Like never mind. Like this is crazy with all of the effects and the stunt work and everything. That's insane.
Yeah. You know what? In those days, Los Angeles was so good to us. They had in their department, in the film commission, they had an ex-cop who used to run the whole film commission, and we were best buds with him. So he was like really, really good to us, giving us so much leeway. And we closed down the 6th Street Bridge. We're going through downtown LA, and just amazing. Now it's next to impossible. Now, a lot of, I just came off a film where where we were fortunate enough because we were out in Vegas, Nevada, and so we were using live gunfire. That's a rarity now. Everybody's digital, and I tell you, I saw several films in Mexico and these films out of state, and there's nothing like hearing and feeling. You know, like you said, the car chase is nothing like seeing and feeling that, because you capture that on film and it comes across. You know.
Yeah, it's exhilarating to see it smash, like we were saying, with the car in half, and even like, I mean, you're just like, whoa, like this is insane. You know, it's like Mad Max, like Road Warrior level of craziness, right? Like,
well, it's like when the semi truck and him and the Suburban are fighting down a curvy mountain road.
Holy crap! I know, that was crazy.
Beating the crap out of each other. I'm like, hey, they don't build cars like they do. You can't do that with a cyber truck and all this other stuff anymore.
Listen, PM Entertainment, when there was a car chase, a semi always showed up and always jackknifed. And
you should have seen the smile on my face when I heard that honk honk, and I see that truck coming in the background. I was smiling ear to ear, but I was just, it was 3 vehicles. He's fighting with a Caprice going across. He wrecks it insanely, pushing it off into that ramp. And I love, I'm a sucker when I'm watching car wrecks. I like to see how they flip. Whether you guys actually use the cans, because you can almost always find them. That one didn't have them. It did a real off the ramp flip, and then that semi truck come out of nowhere, and I'm just like, this is gold.
It was Transformers. It looked like Optimus Prime showing up. I was like, oh my god, there's another one of these vehicles. It's like
so good. Good.
Those are fun days, and again, I attribute all of this to Joseph and Spiro for amazing work. That was his pre Fast and Furious days, man. Mm-hmm. He had such a vision, and all you have to do is put a little germ of an idea in his head, and he'll just expand all this stuff. And we were there. I'm telling you, when we were on the street, I think we had at that time we had, I think it was 8 cameras shooting that limousine gag. With the explosion, we had cameras on the semi, everywhere, and in those days it was all film. So you better capture it. You got one shot. And again, I'd be chewed out because sometimes I'd be using too much film.
The thing is, it's not just the action. Like, even though you literally came up with the story in the shower, I love the story because there is like a massive twist halfway through the movie. Spoiler alert in case you haven't seen this movie before, but like the wife and kid, you're like, oh my god, I thought he was going to save them.
I was completely stunned. I thought maybe it's a dream or something. Are they gonna, like, what is going on? This can't be happening.
Caught me completely off guard. Although I watched this storyline going, somebody, whoever did Thomas Jane's Punisher, watched Recoil a lot. Because I went, wow, you guys used a whole lot of this movie in yours.
Thought that too, buddy. I bloody, because I'm a Punisher guy. This movie is a template for a lot of scenes and shots that are borrowed or homaged in other borrowed in movies, and I thought that too.
You could have put a skull on Daniel's shirt, and he'd have been the Punisher.
Yes, I was.
The last half of this movie is the Punisher.
I literally thought that. I thought that would have been. That was a better Punisher. I'll say this is honest. This is God honest truth, and that these guys can attest. I actually think your version of that was better than the Thomas Jane movie, which I have many issues with. I think you handled that better.
Agree.
Yeah, it was much better handled because we had the relationship first.
Right.
The story is actually very good. It's actually much better than it should be for the movie, because a movie like this can pass on its effects and its stunt work. But actually, the story was pretty good. I was like, I got into it, and I thought this dad, he's got the estranged like son, but he wants to. It's almost like he wants to feel a connection to the son by somehow getting this revenge, which really, I mean, he's getting revenge for the son that didn't want him to be there, and it's kind of an interesting dynamic. And then the wife too. It's like he ends up losing more. Really, he's losing more than he's winning. Even if he gets revenge, like even if he got away clean, he would have lost more than he would have gained by that. I thought it was good.
No, right. No, we were very lucky. Even Rich and then the wife, they were brilliant actors, and they really, I was, again, I got to tell you, I was so blessed to work with the cast that we did, just so blessed, and just everything. It's one of those things where it's like the perfect storm. Everything you got Spear, you got Joseph, you got the cast, and everything else, came together. So it's a complete, I'm humbled because it's such a team effort, everyone putting in there, giving 100% and believing in what we're doing,
Right.
And then blowing the shit out of cars.
In fact, John, are you wearing your Punisher cap?
This is not by accident because I was gonna. You guys stole my thunder. So
I'm sorry. I saw it and I was just I wore A-Team because of all the car wrecks and how many vehicles that exploded. But
Green Lantern too, man. Come
Green
on.
Lantern,
Rambo too.
Rambo. Yeah, I mean nothing beats Rambo, right?
So, John, you haven't got a word in so far.
Sorry.
I mentioned the semi trucks.
That is
you
true.
got
That is
a
true.
little bit in there.
Listen, I wore this by design. From the day one I saw, and all through the 90s, I was working at my cousin's video store. I ate up all your movies, PM Entertainment.
Wow.
And I interviewed you too. You're on the street.
Yeah.
I don't remember if you were walking with the phone. We were talking. Oh,
Yeah.
You gave me the greatest stories and everything. And listen, nobody made like Gary Daniels looked great in other movies he did, but PM Entertainment made Gary look the best. And I guarantee you, nothing against Jean-Claude Van Damme, because we're all big fans of Jean-Claude Van Damme. If he was the one that kicked over Menachem Golan's head, he would have been the superstar and not Jean-Claude Van Damme, because Gary Daniels had every right to be just as big of a star as Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like I said, I was even showing this before we went on. I have the original artwork.
Oh wow, yeah.
That's the VHS. I converted it to DVD when they came out with DVD burners.
Wow.
Listen, yes, it's the Punisher. All you do is slap a skull on him, and he's Frank Castle, or dye his hair black, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he even had a son and a daughter. It's like, and listen, the first time I watched this movie, and I've seen this movie 1,000 times at least. It has to be 1,000 times. I watched it twice just to get ready for the show, and then they died, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna turn into the Punisher. It's the first time I'm watching the movie, and his martial arts so amazing. His kicks, I mean, you're a martial artist, like when you were on set and you saw him cook, were you guys just like, this is just artistry in motion? This is like a balletic ballet.
Yeah, because I've known Gary for all these years, so it always impresses me, the precision and how clean his techniques are and how strong they are, and you're right, with people like that, it's I'm not comparing him, because I mean, to me, Bruce Lee is the ultimate, but if you look at Enter the Dragon, they didn't have to do shit with the camera. Just put the camera on him, and he does everything. And Gary can do all this stuff, which is amazing, And that's what's exciting, because you're right. I mean, I've worked on, obviously a lot of films, but a lot of times when they're over edited is because the guys can't do it, or they don't. They can do it, but they don't look exciting in master shots. That's the thing. And so you have to. Okay, let's cut to close up of the head. Let's cut to this. Let's cut to that. And yeah, Gary's one of the best out there. And you're right. You don't know what or why, things click or don't click with broad audiences, but he's a lot of talent. Very talented guy.
And he has the greatest hero entrance ever, like the beginning. And again, that was taken out. I remember when the bank robbery happened, and there's actually a movie called 44 Minutes that they made about that bank robbery, where the robbers were all decked out in body armor. But like, everybody's dying, cops are dying, people are exploding, and then Gary just walks out in the middle of all of it. He's got explosions in his back. He's like, you know what? F this. I'm just gonna walk out and start shooting motherfuckers in the head. And it's the best hero entrance ever. Gary Daniels is the bomb. It's just like, and it's just like, this is my movie, bitches. Just it's my world and you're living in it. And I was actually nervous the first time I was watching this movie. I'm like, where the fuck is the martial arts? But I was like, there it is. It showed up in the last 45 minutes. And he is so many, like I said, like we all know, like the helicopter kicks, where they jump and spin. He doesn't do a helicopter kick. He does something harder. He jumps straight up in the air and splits his legs. And you guys caught it in slow motion. One of the best kicks ever.
Yeah, that was badass.
One of the best kicks ever caught on film. I'm like, I tried to do that when I was young. I could not get that move down the same. It's like I could do the jump spinning one, but it's like I could not jump it straight up and just go whoop and split my legs out like
No,
that.
the only way I can do it is if I'm on a harness and they're pulling me out.
I can't even do it that way now. Don't worry.
If you're
about
like,
it.
if you're like Van Damme and Kickbox, you got guys with, they tie your legs and they pull you out like this. But like, this is one of my top 3. I'm such a huge Gary Daniels fan, and this is one of my top 3. This might be number 1, Art. I'm just saying.
It's my number 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, because Fist of the North Star, I have a kind of a soft spot for that one too. Nothing against Recoil, because like his fighting at the end of that is amazing as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But this, like, okay, how did you guys blow up downtown LA back in the day? Were you just like, okay, guys, did you just go to City Hall and be like, we're filming this movie and there's going to be some action in it? It's like, how did you
little action film?
Like, I just wanted to ask you, how were you able to like do all that on the city streets?
I'm telling you, in those days, they were so shoot friendly. Like, I just came back actually 2 days ago from Mississippi. I was shooting film up there, and they are so film friendly. Literally, we were going just like in the old days with PM. We were going in Canton, Madison, Jackson, and we had a cop with us. So it was like, okay, I want to shoot there. All right, go up in the middle of the street, and that's the way LA was to a certain degree. In those days, we would just say, hey, we want this grid, but we always carried so many, maybe 4 cops with us at any given time. So, they would say, okay, great, Art, where do you want to shoot? I go, hey, you know what? It's not in our grid, but I love that street over there. Okay, who's going to tell cops no?
Right.
Take the call. You see a cop car,
Right.
I'm telling you, man, we got away with so much in those days. Even that street lamp, rigging it with that little explosion thing, But yeah, and the 6th Street Bridge, we literally owned it for like 2 days, I think 2 or 3 days. And the bank, those side streets, what you do is you have on films where you own a street, and the other one's what they call ITC, intermittent traffic control. So this one completely you own. You can do whatever the hell, park your cars, whatever. This one, you just every like 90 seconds you have to let traffic go or something like that. You stop traffic, then they go, and that's what it was, man, for 15 straight days. And there was so many locations that were so film friendly prior to the gentrification of downtown LA. So I think there's a point in there where the motorcycle goes inside this like hallway with all these barriers and being chased, and now it's like stores and kinds of frou-frou storefronts.
But you can't really blow them up anymore. Huh?
Yeah.
I tell you, man. But yeah, it was fun. Those were the golden years where we can do anything. We weren't reckless, but we could do almost anything we wanted in those days, in the 90s in LA.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find out who do we have to punch to get these movies released on Blu-ray or 4K? These 90s movies, I want them remastered, get proper special features and things. So anybody watching, make that happen, please.
No,
last thing I'll say, Charlie, you can show your love for this movie afterwards. But PM Entertainment carried on the legacy of Canon Films. You guys, when Canon Films faltered, you guys were just like, you took the ball and you ran with it, and you probably even excelled more than they did in terms of the action movies, because it was ridiculous in the best way possible. That's the last thing I'm going to say for it.
I got to tell you, and to this day. I'm still very, very good friends with Joseph Murphy, and I'll see him probably. We'll talk maybe once every couple months or have lunch. But this guy is the most humble person in the planet, Joseph Murphy, the PM Entertainment, and at that time they were the biggest guys in action films. Whenever we go to the film market, you see their booths just swamped. All the what's the next action? What's these buyers, savoring the whole situation. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if you remember that they also did a series called LA Heat.
Yes, of course.
Yep.
And what they did, it was a brainchild of one of the partners that said, look, we have all our own stock footage. We have 40 films of action. Let's use, and that's what they would do. I remember directing one of them, and I wrote another one of them, because they would give me a big stunt. Let's say like the limousine crash, right? And they would build a story around it. And that was the episode. So we would do all the lead ups and then put that big stunt in there. So we had our own stock footage machine.
Actually, here's a good question.
That's a good question. PM.
What would be the equivalent of PM Entertainment today? Lionsgate, maybe?
I mean, nothing on the lower budget. If you want the heart, it's going to be like 87 North if they had less budget.
Saban Films does a lot of action.
Yeah, you got those too.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though. Everyone's going digital, so they've while they're doing it cheaper, they've lost that edge. They've lost the heart almost by trying to digitize everything. And it's cheaper now, but you've lost something.
It's soulless.
It's soulless. That's a good way to put it.
But honestly, it's not that much cheaper. The budget on, again, this is going back 30 years. We had it was I think $1.7 million. The budget.
And it looks better than most movies released today.
No, it definitely is. But most of it, I'm telling you, most of it went into there wasn't that big star name. It was again, it's all the explosions, cars, and everything for the days of shooting.
And I mean, you guys were even still doing that, and I had to look again because this felt of the earlier films, but this was 1998. I mean, digital was taking over. I mean, you're 1 year away from The Matrix. You're doing all these people that want to put computer stuff in everything. And I was just, it made me feel good to be like, they're still doing it in 98. This is the kind of stuff I like. Yeah, this works. I like
still
it.
Real action.
Yeah, it really is.
Here's the thing too, is that being around, I mean, I'm an old fart. I mean, I started in 1990, and being around the film and seeing the transition, I think my first, believe it or not, my first film that I directed in digital, I think was 2016. I was still using film. I was still using film to 2016. And the good and the bad of it to me on a personal level as a filmmaker is that with film, again, because you were so budget conscious, you couldn't waste shots. You had to be on top of your game. Here, it's digital. Okay, let's shoot another angle. Let's do this. You know what I'm saying? It's more casual.
Yeah.
The attitude since you can shoot digital all day long, And but in those days, you know, some of the films we were shooting on short ends or recans, and it's like, oh shit!
That label was wrong. That didn't have that many feet in it. We're done today.
How detailed is the script in describing action scenes? Whenever you're required the script, and you're like, there's 19-minute action scene at the beginning, and you're just like, crazy shit ensues for 20 minutes, or do you like into great detail?
Yeah, and then you'd always hold your breath. You'd hear, check the gate. Making sure, praying to God that nothing got in that little gate, whatever the hell that is. It's like, oh shit! We got a hair in the gate. We have to reshoot. Shit!
That guy on the motorcycle went on forever. I mean, he was not going to give up. He was like, I'm not. Then you thought he was cornered, and he's like, let me go up. They're like, there he goes. It's like, okay, still going. All right, whatever.
So a script is about 1 minute, one page a minute, right? So it's like page 1 action, page 2 action. Like, what is it saying there?
Spiral, do what you got to do.
I clocked it, and there's 4 out of a 92, 93 film, a 93-minute movie. There's 47 minutes of action.
Wow, it's crazy.
That's nuts. I love it though. I love it.
I take notes when I watch these movies for these streams, so I can sound like I know what I'm talking about. And I'm watching it. I ended up taking no notes because I'm like, I didn't want to take my eyes off. I have like a little board here that so I didn't want to take my eyes off the screen because I was like, I'll miss something. I looked, I'm like, I haven't written down anything. And then the only thing I wrote down was 19 minutes and 23 seconds, and the action is still going. That's the only note I had for this entire stream. I thought, great, I'm going to look like an idiot coming on here. But like, I didn't want to take my eyes off because I'm like, I'm going to miss some crazy stunt or something. And finally, the movie calmed down for me. I was like, finally, I can relax and take a breather here and just get into the story. But it's insane. Like,
no, but I tell you, brother, again, no digital. Those days, again. The action and sometimes even not that one, but other films that I did, we'd have literally, I mean, the shortest amount of time I had to shoot a fight was like 10 minutes, and it had to be a good fight.
Wow,
it had to be a good fight. I mean, I used to recite. I was like your worst, drill drill camp sergeant. Kick, punch, get up, punch, kick, do it again. I'm like,
you're not tired yet. Get back up again. You can do this.
Charlie Chaplin was notorious for go again, go. Get the shot. But the precision, right? Like in this movie, the fights, as you were saying earlier when we started about the fighting, like the precision hits and like so clean. It's like boom, boom. You're like, whoa, crap, that was pretty pretty vicious, and there's power behind it too.
Yeah.
I think that tangibility is what makes it important. The real explosions, as you guys are saying, the actual gun, like shooting an actual, like shooting an actual gun. There's like a twitch in the body. There's a movement. There's a feel.
Yeah.
Right, like me just going like this, and then oh look, I can digitally put whatever
CG muzzle flare.
Sure, I can.
Or faking it. You can always tell when someone's
faking.
It's like they're shaking the bullets out of their gun.
Fixing post.
Exactly.
Post. That was one of the things, Jay, man, I noticed was I was watching this and I was like, what is like a word that would describe it? And it's kinetic. This movie feels kinetic.
That's
and it's just because you feel every punch, you can experience every explosion.
Yeah.
But then you have, going back to the script, sometimes you'll get in a good action movie and you're like, that action was amazing. God, the script sucked. This one was, it was like a good story blending in to allow me to catch my breath, to get involved in it. But I wasn't lingering too long there because then all of a sudden some action would happen. It was a really good revolve on it. So, but we like Owen was saying, we talked quite a bit about the action end of it, but what was it like with the actual script part, the dialogue, the storytelling? Because you put a hell of a twist in this movie that I didn't see coming.
No, we did. We had we literally on some of these films, because the scripts aren't as strong as they should be, but we had some good moments there, and a lot of the actors contributed to that. I mean, with Rick Frangi and his wife, those kind of scenes, they ad-lib some things and change some things in there, and that's what brought it to life. Because a lot of times what we would do is okay, this is kind of the blueprint for what we're doing, but feel it, make it come to life. And again, there was one scene I wish I would have covered it more, but I didn't, because at the time it's Rich Frangi talking to his wife, and it was just a wide shot, and they're just talking, two people talking.
Yep, I understand.
And I left it at that because I thought, wow, that's the whole composition, number one, but number two, the separation of the two, and it's a profile shot. To me, it was very enigmatic not symptomatic of their relationship at that time, how separate they were. And but no, the script was good, but again, the actors made it much stronger than what it was, because they really added their own twist to different things.
Right. I will say this though, and this has the best ending to any action movie I've ever seen. And again, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, I'm going to spoil it, because it's sad. He's got nothing at the end. It's like, even though he's gone through and killed, and then at the end, Richard Franzi's in the back yelling, and at first you're thinking he's like, he shot him in the knee and he's going to let him bleed out or whatever. And then he's just yelling at him, then he just takes the lighter and he lights, and then it just explodes behind him, and then it just fades to black and the credits grow.
Right.
And you're just, and I sit there every time and I'm just like, I'm like, because he's got nothing. I mean,
it's unsentimental, and it doesn't drag it out. Because movies today, you'd have to have an extra half an hour of him like going into therapy after and over explaining. I was like, no, that's it. But this part of the story is over at the end, and I love that. It just gets to it. Yeah.
And to me, it was like full circle, because the first time we saw Gary was boom, soldier in his back, and here was just the fire in his back.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
it was a nice subtle callback to him having the lighter constantly, because you're watching the movie and he's like, okay, that's his fidget thing, that's what's his thing, but he uses it at the end. But I do just have to say, with that in fight kill, whoever the special effects guy that loaded that knee squib, I hope he got extra beer.
Yeah, that was good,
because that is the most blood for the smallest wound I have ever seen. It was awesome.
That looked painful. Yes, it did. Yes,
there is
he was
no
a
knee.
hemophiliac, man. He was. Damn it.
And then I also love, like, at the end, of course, Gary's doing his thing, he's doing the martial arts, but then I always love when he starts tussling with other guys, and then they know martial arts too. It's like, oh, good, you know martial arts too. It's like, okay, let's have a fight.
That one other dude that started going kick for kick with him,
yeah,
I was
they
not expecting that.
And then they
that you have to have. That's a trope. We know that was, and Art knows, and we know, Art, we know, and you know that we know. So I like when the filmmakers know the audience. Yeah. And they know what the audience is expecting, and they can give us what we expect in a good way, but they can also throw a twist in, because I'm sitting there thinking, there's no way the family's dying. it's just it doesn't get done in these kinds of movies. It doesn't really happen in that way. And then when it does happen, like, oh, and I actually thought, well, maybe there is this like, what's going on here? Something's off. It's like, wow, they're really dead. Like, holy shit, this is crazy.
Halfway through the movie,
yeah. Right. I thought the wife might. Like maybe the wife might get killed, like right there. I was like, I just did that whole thing.
Art's like, kill them all.
Yeah, but give us what we want. Yeah, it's give us what we want, and also something new, you know.
And then 10 minutes later, the partner. I'm like, oh my god,
I like that guy.
Is his dog next? I mean, he didn't have a dog, but if he did, he'd probably kill the dog. They'd be done.
Yeah, man.
No, some guy hands him a newspaper, he blows up. Some guy hands him a hot dog, he dies. It's just Gary Daniels
doctor,
his
dentist. You kill them all.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Those are SAG paychecks, so cut them. We don't need them.
No more dialogue. No more dialogue.
I'd love to see some Ali Yong in this. You are 100%.
But you know what? There was a couple of funny things that happened. Sad thing, we on one of the squibs, the guy was good, but I mean, he on one of the squibs when Gary's shooting, I think towards the end, he placed it in the wrong position, and so when Gary shoots, the squib goes off, and it was on the inside. So we got so lucky because it went this way, you know.
Oh yeah.
Got his face a little forced. He didn't get his eye. It went out this way. It didn't, you know, but it did leave a few, you know, because those are little mini explosions.
Right.
And on one of the things, we when we dumped the car over the in the parking lot, when we pushed it to the edge and let it fall, it was supposed to be flying off, and the damn car stopped working on us. It stopped working on us. Stopped working on us. So fuck it, push it off, man.
It still worked though. It totally still worked for me. I did like that because you didn't realize how high up you guys were. I mean, in most action movies, you're 10 stories up and the car falls. Yeah. This was like one. But I was still like, this is really cool. It just noses and huge explosion again.
Had to, man. And just so many little things like that, man. When you're shooting it and you're like, gosh darn it, it's not working, and this and that, and then you make it work. You make it work, you know. There's no room for error.
Yeah.
There's no room for. And those days, I got to tell you, man, those were such wonderful times. I mean, don't get me wrong. I really enjoy what I'm doing now, but nothing compares to that era. Of films.
That was the golden age. Yeah. I mean, particularly PM Entertainment. I mean, we all grew up in the era of like VHS tapes, so we would be renting these movies all the time, watching them, and like just growing up. And like I grew up watching Recoil because I'm from the UK, like Gary is, and I grew up watching and just chatting with you, and I have Gary on Facebook and everything, and it's so cool that we're all able to like chat and interact after all these years. And you've always been. Just a particular shout out to you. I remember you were one of the first people who emailed me on the website when I started it about 12 years ago. And I remember you said, I appreciate you doing this. And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, you're the Art Camacho. I was like, oh. And I knew I was onto something then. And here we are all these years later, still doing it.
No, I'm still doing it. Actually, when you interviewed me in the parking lot, I was shooting the film, The Record. That should be coming out with Tyrese and Harvey Keitel. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a Mad Max kind of vehicle. We tricked out a tow truck, put some turrets on it. A little throwback to my PM days. Not as big, but still fun.
Well, looking forward to that. Is that coming out this year or next year?
Probably. We're finishing up now because there was some hiccups, and now we should finish in the next month. So hopefully by the end of the year, I'll let you guys know because it was a fun little film.
100%.
Fun little film. A little my homage to PM days, because we just the last 20 minutes is nonstop action, just shooting, fighting, and you name it, blowing up.
All that good stuff.
Love it.
Can I pre-order it now? Can I?
Oh man.
Let's say. So you've worked with PM Entertainment and you've done a lot of like fight scenes over the years. What has been the most challenging but rewarding fight scene that you've worked on?
I want to say, believe it or not, it was the first fight scene that I did with in my first film, The Power Within. Mm-hmm. Because we really T.J. Roberts, who was this really wonder kid at that time, he ended up getting a TV series with Saban Entertainment called The Masked Rider, but we discovered him at the end. Yeah, he did I think the Magic Kid 2. He did like 4 films with PM, and the fourth one I directed called The Power Within, and it was rewarding and challenging because he could do it. He was not as clean, as precise, and like Gary Daniels, but he was phenomenal kid who could do gymnastics and the kicks, and we did so much stuff in that film, so much cool fighting. That was the most planned and prepared I've been, because he gave it all to me, and this was nothing but fights in there. As a matter of fact, it's funny if you ever see it. There's a scene in there, I'm sure you guys can catch it, but 99% of everyone else doesn't catch it, where I have him, because he can do gymnastics and do like flips over people. But in this fight scene, we had him fighting like a bunch of guys, right? And they're all kind of bigger than him. He's small. He's like a 13-year-old kid. And so I had him literally do a flip. And when we actually shot the flip, we had him jump, we had him landing. And the part where he goes over the guys, I had everybody on their knees. I shot them from the waist up. So he literally goes over them and you just see them going with them.
So
that's genius, though.
That's awesome.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, and you can't even tell. I tell you, you guys can probably tell, but 99% of everyone else, they watch it like, whoa, because again, you buy into the reality, and he did everything himself. There was no stunt double. If you see some of the stuff he did in there, it was amazing.
Well, to be fair, the first time we watch it, we believe it. It's the 10th time we watch a movie,
right,
and we start catching on all the little things that we miss.
Right. But if you ever see that, hey, they're on their knees, man.
There they go. But you had worked with Gary before you were directing, right? Like, were you doing like stunt work and fight work with him? How was that? I think it was Deadly Target I was reading. How different is that from going?
It was what was that film? Not Cybertrack. God darn it, I was in it too. Oh gosh.
Sci-Fighter? Was that Sci-Fighter, Cybertracker?
No, it was before that. Gosh darn it. I'm brain fart, but yeah, we just, it was kind of futuristic where people are competing in a cage, fighting in a cage. Firepower. There you go. That's where. Yeah. Chad McQueen. Chad was great. He was great, but a little. And again, no disrespect to him because I love him to death, but he was like, his first thing is, okay, Art, where's my stunt double? Okay, now we know what we're doing. But getting back to the challenging thing, let me tell you, the most challenging and most rewarding. This. I forgot about this experience. This one dwarfs the power with him because I worked with Corey Feldman, and Corey. I don't know if you know Corey. Again, great actor, nice guy, and no disrespect to him, but he couldn't fight. So he had all the fights in the film, and he's harder to double because again he's kind of like this, very great crunch down, his neck's crunch down, and my student who doubled him had a long ass neck. So my cue every time he'd be fighting doubling for him, I had to go goose neck. That was his cue to kind of duck his neck, in the middle of the fight. Every time he goose neck, okay, kind of a cue just for him, and I knew that when I said that, just bring your neck down. Yeah. But here's the thing, in that film, again, you guys are the exception, but everybody, I went to the screening of that film and I just sat in the back. I usually sit in the back when I screen films. and Corey was there, director, everybody else was there. And at the end of the movie, people kept coming up to him at his great, incredible fight scenes. I mean, they were like praising. And I was in the back. My
you should have been like gooseneck.
I'm telling you, man, my job is done. I pack up my mop and everything else. Go on to the next film. Let's go.
I did my job.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
I mean, that's one of the better rewards. It worked. Yeah. That's what you're going for, and you just it proved it to you. Yeah, he got kudos for something he didn't even do, but it's like, my job here is done. On to the
and I'm sure he was there like, oh yes, thank you. You're welcome. Yes.
Yeah, Corey Feldman's like, yeah, of course, thanks, guys. Yeah, I trained hard on that. Yeah, no,
I'm telling you, man, the funny thing was, I was shooting this, and the producers came to the set, and there would be scenes where literally, I'm going to mimic what I had him doing. I had him doing this, just moving from the waist up, and they're like, "What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Trust me." So then you see him start to move. Then you see my student kick, and then you see him recover. It was just amazing how seamless it was at that time, man. It was fun stuff, man.
That's just wild.
I am a huge movie score guy. Everyone knows I love listening to music scores. How do you work with your composers in creating the right musical sound for your films?
Yeah, well, that's another thing. What we would do is a lot of times on most of my films, the editor is really strong, because what we'll do when we're editing it, we put like a temp score, and going back to, like I told you, I think the a film that I did called Bigfoot, I wanted like Disney-ish, Disney, Walt Disney kind of score to it. So we were editing scenes and laying that as a temp, and then the composers would kind of add their own twist to it and make their own music. But I usually work with the temp score so that I know going into it, I get a certain feeling to it, and that's how I'm able to communicate with composers. But this last film I did, believe it, you're talking about Saban. Saban picked it up. It's called Ruthless. It's on Hulu.
Great movie. Yeah.
With Dermot Mulroney. That one, what we did, I knew that Dermot was a concert cellist, cello player. He's played on soundtracks, and he's been concerts and stuff like that. And so every time I have like especially now in the last 15 years, I always try to make sure that each character has its own theme. And what we literally paid a cellist to create the theme for Dermot. So every time there's a little bit of that cello kind of feel whenever you see him in the film, integrated into the score. And that was wonderful, because Dermot was really pleasantly surprised. I didn't tell him until afterwards. He goes, "Hey."
Well, I like that, because the music score is kind of a dead thing, really. There are very few music scores these days. Like, oh, I love that theme tune. Have that whistling. I very rarely am whistling a movie theme after watching it these days. I definitely guess something should come back as well.
And I hope to God, believe me, I'm with you on that, because many years ago, about 8 years ago, I met Lalo Schifrin. Did Enter the Dragon, Rush Hour,
Mission Impossible,
on everything. I mean, and it was amazing. You're right. I mean, those scores, some of those scores and those composers, John Williams, my God, you hear that, you're automatically taken into that. I swear to God, I hope to God in my lifetime I'm able to have a score for a film that is that memorable, that you hear it and you see the movie, and believe it or not, when I was talking to Lalo, because I was at his house, he had told me that to him, he number one, he worked with Bruce Lee on the film. Basically, they had a lot of conversations about Enter the Dragon, and he always had in mind to do a sequel. He had it literally almost scored, basically. And he said he got the opportunity when Rush Hour came along. So if you look at Rush Hour again, you'll see the little feeling of Enter the Dragon. So that was his sequel. That was his part 2 of Enter the Dragon. That I felt
like I need an excuse to watch Rush Hour again. But I twist my arm.
I like the idea that the composer's getting into this, like, oh, this is going to be a franchise, or this is going to be another one. I'm gonna up the music again and change it around a bit. Yeah, that's cool.
It's like people don't remember what the importance.
And the thing is, guys, to me, I'm still like a kid in a candy store. I'm this fat little kid looking inside, and when I see, working with these actors or on these films and being here, I'm really honored. Thank you so much for for the consideration.
For the honors ours.
Yes.
Very blessed to be doing what I'm doing, talking to you guys and reliving some of the golden years.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Just to finish off about the music thing, is that there's a lot of thing. I don't know if it's like they don't understand or they don't care, like filmmakers now, is that the music is like a character in itself in the movie, like the leitmotif is known.
But going back to Recoil, that was the truth I told you when it was. The pitch was just at the last, in an hour and a half, I came up with the whole story, and I can't tell you how many times. I think 3 or 4 times I've done that before. I don't take notes. I'm very stupid. I don't fucking take notes. I swear to God, even right now, it's like, shit, today's Wednesday. Oh, crap.
I think when everyone is involved in a project, or and they're all excited to be there and they're excited to do stuff, that's where you get these really special movies and moments. I know it's a business, and we know, look, it's a business too, right? There's producers and there's budgets, and you got to hit the marks and get the money and get your 15 days or whatever you get. But like, if you're not having fun while you're doing the thing, it's not going to translate well, no matter how great you have all of the individual players. They have to get along with each other. They have to have fun together, work well together as well, and be talented. Yes, talent is there. But that is the thing that I think is sometimes you're missing a key component from some of these things, which you didn't really have. Because when you're doing these movies in the 90s PM and all that, there, even Canon, it's like you become like a tight-knit group. You're like, all right. And if you're directing, you're like, okay, I'm directing this scene. And then while you're doing that, I'm running over to directing that scene and coming back. And it's like, you're involved in every aspect of it. And the thing is that it just makes it a tight group.
Yeah, no, you're so right, and then again, that trust, it's a family. Pretty much, it's a family that you develop. Speaking of that, there was another film that I did. I think it was Little Bigfoot 2, The Journey Home. That film, believe it or not, I did Little Bigfoot for PM. It was another family film. And that did so well that literally at the first market, it wasn't even completed, but they took the trailer. I mean, they sold out. They had orders up the yin yang. So literally, I'm getting a call. Okay, Art, come up with a story for the sequel. We want to do a sequel. This one's doing so well. And so, okay, Little Bigfoot 2, The Journey Home. One Bigfoot. Let's have 4 Bigfoots. You know, it's bigger and better. But that one, you talk about challenges. We were shooting up there. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Big Bear. It's kind of foresty area over here. And it's great. So everywhere we shot most of it up there in Big Bear. So basically, we had cabins, we had caves, lakes, forests, you name it. And so what I did one day, we were losing our 2 main actors, and we had so much to shoot, so many pages to shoot that day. So fortunately, I had like 5 different sets that we were going to move to, within a radius of maybe a quarter mile to half a mile to quarter mile to half a mile. And it got so late in the day that literally I had to go 5 sets at once. And that I had to run from the lake, action, cut, run over there to the cabin, set it up, action, cut, go over there to there's a little opening, and I swear to God, and literally that one day was just directing 5 scenes at one time. And it was nuts. That was crazy. But it's such a rush. I can do it. You know? Like,
you're excited, right? You want to be there, so you've got the power to do it.
Yes, I can do it, man. I ain't no sissy director, damn it.
Just while I remember, because I meant to mention at the beginning, but I'll mention now. My buddy John Cross has just started doing a podcast called PM Entertainment Podcast, and Art, he's probably going to give you a shout soon, Art, if he hasn't already, because he wants to speak to you. But everyone needs to check that out whenever he starts doing the shows, because he's actually got interviews with Joseph and Richard.
First episode's out now with the Sweeper. It just released last week.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, so everyone needs to check that out anyway whenever it comes up. Does anybody else have any more questions for Art?
Well, Art, not so much a question, just something I wanted to say. Like I said, like this was like during the heyday. Like I was training in the martial arts. I was just eating all these movies up. What I loved about PM Entertainment, especially even with your movies now, you could tell the love you guys have for the genre because it radiates over the screen when you're watching it. Like it's just like what you guys did with limited resources and like how you made it look big budget. It's just truly a remarkable thing. And I just wanted to, again, I'm sure I'm going to talk to you in the future, but you just create, it's magic because like I said, I don't want to say everything's soulless today because we do still get action movies that we talk about and we love and everything, but it just doesn't hold a candle to anything that, and again, I guess you could say like New Image at the time, which then became Millennium and the Expendable movies. Like they were doing the same thing too, and it was kind of like New Image PM, New Image. It's like every Tuesday I'd go into my video store, I'd be like, okay, New Image PM, New Image. It's like it's like I'll take it all. I'd walk out, I'd be like, okay, I got my entertainment for the week. And like I don't want to make any of us sound old, but I grew up with you, and it's just. You're phenomenal and continued success.
No, thank you so much. And I, honestly, I feel the same way. I feel, and again, I to be honest with you, even now, I rarely watch action films, only because of that. I mean, I love them. I love the superhero movies, but I know going into it, I'm watching cartoons, and which is good, not a bad thing. But when I see, like, I think one of the last Die Hards, it was so ridiculous.
The fifth one, it's terrible.
It was so ridiculous. Come on, to me, honestly, I don't have a leg stand on, but I think it's a disrespect to the genre when you get too over the top. Because like I told you, I've shot several films in the last few years in Mexico, and over there, it's really easy because I mean we can do live rounds, we don't have issues anywhere, and people are used to it, and you just see it when you're seeing it on camera. You're seeing the flares come out, you're seeing the little twitches on the hands, and when there's car chases. I mean these are hairy things, and you feel it and you capture that. That's the thing, you capture it not only live there, but you capture that on film, now, like I told you, this last film that I did, I'm not trying to push it, but what I did before I did the film, I said, look, if we're going to do this, they said, well, we got digital, I said, you know what, I've never done anything that's completely digital. I'm not going to start now. And so I said, look, give me live rounds, give me live turrets, give me live shooting. Then we can enhance it. Yes, we can add a little bit more. Great.
Right.
But not the base has to be there. Because we had literally a tow truck where literally it got tricked out and you see these turrets come out. And literally we had an armor there just shooting. So you feel it, you know? It's real.
Well, actually, just have a question here from Real Popcorn Geek, who's one of our biggest fans. He always has some brilliant comments. So, is there any performer that you haven't worked with yet that you would like to work with?
You know, not in recent times. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I'd love to one day, you know, obviously if I had the opportunity to work with someone like Keanu Reeves, who's so committed, because a lot of my friends are trained him in jiu-jitsu. Higan Machado, my good buddy of mine for 30 years, trained him, and he was telling me these beautiful stories about, I mean, he'll go in there. He is so devoted to training, to his art and to his, you know, his craft as an actor. And those are the kind of people that I really dig because between you and I won't mention names, but there's several that I worked with, actors who are these action star types who don't put in the work. They do not put in the work, and it shows. Now I have to re-edit and think of clever ways to shoot it. And to me, it's a disrespect because you got to put in the work. And that's what I love about Tom Cruise or Tom Hardy, you know, Keanu Reeves, those kind of people. That even, you know, going back to, you know, Stallone, my God, he's my idol, man. That guy is just number one on screen, but also you see the work ethic he puts in. You know, that kind of stuff is missing in many of the guys today. But it's changing because you see these actors who are training. Reacher, for instance.
Love it.
Oh my God, I love him to death, man. That guy's amazing, both as a person, what he puts on screen, and his physicality.
Yep.
It's like it blows you away, you know. Seriously, I mean, but again, you know, for everyone, you know, Reacher, there's 10, 15 guys who just, you know, phone it in. That's the way I see it, you know?
Show up for a paycheck.
You've nailed it, because even the people that you mentioned, and they're the ones that are continuing to have great success and they're relevant because they're putting the work in. You can see as a person, like, you know, Keanu Reeves, like when I saw that John Wick, that first one, like, whoa, like Keanu Reeves really transformed himself. Like I thought, really, this is, but yeah, like what you're saying, it's like put the work in. It's a team effort. Like you're doing the best you can to get the best shots, to get everything going. You expect them to give the best that they can. They just want to be instant stars. Look, I'm an action guy. You know, I'm going to be the drummer in the band, and then boom, boom, boom. I just wailed my arms around, and now I'm going to be on this band. It's like, no, you need to put the work in here, guys.
You know. Yeah, and that's what I think. Going back to my greatest inspiration, both in life and in film, martial arts, is Bruce Lee. I mean, I was such a Bruce Lee freak growing up that he got me into martial arts, and I ended up meeting his family. His mother actually taught me how to use chopsticks, believe it or not.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Crazy. And I went to his house where his wife lived, and she had all these books, and just seeing and learning and studying this man's life. He was obsessed. He was a nut job, but obsessed with perfection, you know. And it shows. It's exciting, and then that's why I told you, when I see some of these people, these actors who are committed so much to their craft, both as actors and if they're going to be action stars at their action, it's exciting and very inspirational to me. Personally,
that's fantastic.
You also find that these days, recently, there has been more of a move back towards stunts, like with 87 North and whatever, and you have these like filmmakers come up who come from a stunt background, and they're making like stunt, like Extraction or whatever, and Havoc coming soon, you know. So, you know, there is, I think, definitely always going to be that kind of real gritty action.
It's exciting because again, what makes those films, to me, you know, whether it's Bullet Train or films like that, it becomes more organic because the director it comes from the stunt world, and he understands it, so everything seems more fluid, more connected. Whereas some films you see, again, you know, so funny. When I was working with Dermot Mulroney, one of the things he told me, and again, I've been told that, you know, again, different actors throughout the years, is that, you know, when they work, you know, on other projects, most of the projects they have, you know, you have your director, Then for the action, you have your action director, second unit director, and here I was, director, second unit, choreographer. I was teaching him, everything, and so it makes it more organic and connects the film more as opposed to, oh, here's the action, oh, here's the story,
Right.
Here's the story. Now it's intertwined more.
They don't have to change gears. It's fluid as you guys as you do it all in one.
Yeah. And to me, it's just very natural because even though I've had some coordinators and all that stuff on my shows, it's like 95% of all the stuff I do. I'm just like that. To me, it's therapeutic and it's exciting and it really gets my blood going when I see that, and I'm able to push. Even with Dermot, I mean, whether it's throwing an elbow, a punch, it's like I'm like yelling, do it again harder, getting into it,
Right.
Yeah.
The pacing is good too. I want to say on Recoil, because we didn't talk about that. I'm a stickler for pacing, where this is like a perfect template of like lots of action story. The story is good enough to get you to the action. It doesn't insult your intelligence. It has characters that you care about. It has some twists in it, so that's still quality, but the action is also the focus of it, and you don't overstay your welcome. There's not like, we understand his family is killed. We don't now you'd have a half an hour, 25 minutes of him lounging around and he's upset and he's drinking, and then, I got to take my pills and what am I going to do with my life? And you're like, I know what you're going to do. You're gonna scrap up the guy. You're gonna take the shit out of these guys. So get to it. The pacing is perfect, particularly in this movie. This is perfect for sure.
Again, I attribute so much to again, going back to Joseph Murphy. He'll come in, we'll edit it, and he'll come in and sit it with me, and again, now he's a gentler, kinder kind of man, but in those days he was like, this is shit. What the hell? They're talking about
cut it. It's like the movie's 10 minutes. Guys, we need more. We don't have
You didn't film enough now. You filmed too much. No, you didn't film enough.
Exactly.
Now, you worked with one of my favorite action stars several times, Don the Dragon Wilson, who you've been friends with, I think, for years. So what's he like to work with? I bet he's awesome. I'll tell you the bad about Don is that what really upsets me the most is that after every effing movie, I come out with these laugh lines because all we do is fucking laugh all day. We have fun and it's like I told you with him. I've been to India with him. I've been to so many 20. I think I did. He's done like 30 films, and I think I directed him in 4 and been in 20, choreographed 21 or something like that. But I mean, number one, he's just a trooper, nicest guy in the. As a matter of fact, I have to push him on the fight stuff because since he's a real fighter, he knows the damage that he can do. Mm-hmm. So he'll pull his punches, and don't worry about it. Look, you're beating up a Mexican. I got 20 Mexicans behind you. Break that one, put another one in there.
Oh my God.
We got plenty. Hit him.
Bring more.
Bring him in next. He's the sweetest guy you can work with. Some of the nicest guy, and yeah, I think to be honest with you, I mean, consider we've been friends since like 1990. I think only once or twice we've had really like serious disagreements, but most of the time it's very collaborative. And one thing that I did do for him was help him on his fight image because in the beginning he did a few films prior to me working with him, and he was always good, and there's no doubt, but he had no sense of himself. And so I started, channeling. I said, channel your inner Bruce Lee, man. Let's just have more of a presence in there, more. And I think it was Ring of Fire 2 where we really had fun with that. It was our homage to Bruce Lee, and he really started getting that. And so from then on in, he started really changing, because a lot of times it's something that you have to just get internal and embody that character, and every film has to have a little bit of that. Whether Kevin, you go back to Tom Cruise, every film has a little bit of his essence. That's what makes him so great. And that's the thing with Don. He's such a sweet guy. And what if you've talked to him, and that's the way he is on a set. There's no difference. Other actors I can't say the same, but he is just no different. You know?
Yeah, I met him twice. I met him in person in New York a few years ago at the Urban Action Showcase, and he was super nice. He was really, really nice. And then I interviewed him once a couple of years ago. So I think we need to have Don Wilson on a live stream at some point soon. Then we'll pick a movie and have him on because he's got great stories as well.
He does. And here's the thing. He's the kind of guy, let's say, for instance, if you're going to throw a party, this is just my advice to you guys. If you want to throw a party and you're afraid it might be dull, get Don down there. He will be the light. He'll go. I mean, just take him. Start a conversation. He can talk for hours. You know. So again, guys, take it to a party. Make a note yourself.
Invite Don for sure.
Yeah, sweet guy. And you know what? I also worked with Steven Seagal, and here's the thing. I so many people that have worked with him over the years, continually or not continually, have always these stories that I hear, and so. I heard all that going before I did that film Half-Past Dead with him, and I had met him a couple of times socially, but when I work, I'm about to work, and I have no ego. I have passion, and number two, I respect the shit out of what he did for film because look at when Above the Law came out.
Yep.
How he incorporated Aikido. It was 100%. Different, fresh.
Yep.
And then I respect him as a martial artist. So I never called him Steven. It was always Sensei. So the minute I called him Sensei, we had that kind of respect as martial artists towards each other. So I had a great time with him. I can't say that I had any situation where he was throwing his weight around or anything like that. So I have no negative stories on Steven Seagal. The only thing on Half-Past Dead was there a little bit of a conflict was between him and another actor because there was a scene in there where he's fighting in prison and the actor is supposed to be a big guy too. He's supposed to rough up Steven Seagal, throw him into some bars. And so Steven Seagal told him, "Hey, don't rough him up too much. Again, each his own." And then the director kept telling him, "Rough him up more." So he was telling you, "Don't do it." The director's telling you, "Yes." So it got to a point where the guy roughed him up, shoved him somewhere, and then I saw them stop for a moment, and something was going to break, something was going to hit. And then because Steven also had, bodyguards, for it was in Germany. So in my mind, it's almost like a movie, slow motion, right? You see these guys almost ready to fight. You see the security guards running. They're packing, right? Yeah. And the only thought that went through my mind was my mortgage payment. I said, they don't touch down. I don't pay my bills. So I'm like running. No. And they're big guys. So can't we, Rodney King said, can't we all just get along? I didn't mean to hit him. Right? I want to pay my bills, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I actually met Steven Seagal a few years ago and in Toronto, and he was actually like super nice. He barely spoke. He's very quiet. Sort of soft-spoken, and I'd heard all the horror stories as well. And then when I met him, and I was like, "I'm sorry, the guy was perfectly nice to me. I got nothing bad to say about him." So it was great. So, so we'll start to wrap it up. If you want to tune in next week, everybody, we're going to be paying a tribute to the late great Gene Hackman, who lost recently. Devastated, like my favorite actor of all time. So next week we're going to be discussing Uncommon Valor. Which I feel like doesn't get discussed enough. So, so we're going to have a chat about that. Art, you're welcome to join us anytime you like. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
That's awesome.
Appreciate it, man.
We'll also have you on for Record whenever that comes out, and
for sure.
we can discuss all the fun on that.
Yeah, it's crazy fun, man. But one last thing I wanted to say is that a lot of the people, again, from this little kid, watching from the outside, I ended up working with so many people that I grew up watching on TV. I mean, working with whether Martin Cove or like I told you, Harvey Keitel, just so many people that I've been so blessed to work with. Dolph Lundgren, Dolph, the same thing as Steven Seagal. It was funny because the last story I'll tell you is that I was hired to do pickups on this film that he did. It was a zombie film, and prior to that, the producers kept telling me, "Art, you're going to choreograph, but don't worry about it. Dolph likes to change a lot of things, so don't take it personal." I'm thinking, I don't get paid by the punch, so don't matter. And so 2 or 3 producers, the director tells me, Art, we really love you, but Dolph changes, sometimes he changes everything. I said, no, it's great. It's Dolph Lundgren with it's his film. And so what I did, they flew me to Vegas, and then from Vegas, it's an hour to get to Utah, where they shot it. So in that hour's drive, I was taking a stunt double with me. So we rented a car and driving up to. And instead of making small talk, I kept picking his brain. He's been with Dolph Lundgren for like 10 years, right? Nice guy, Tony Messenger, great guy. And I said, well, what's Dolph like? Oh, he's like this. What does he like to do? Oh, he likes this technique and that technique. And so in that 1 hour, I did all my intel on Dolph Lundgren, right?
Oh, smart.
So I get there. And again, the first thing, Art, please don't take it personal that Dolph changes all the choreography. I said, no, I'm cool. So I put the fight together, and I've got my little iPhone. So I record on my iPhone, and Dolph calls me. He says, Art, let's have dinner. I want to see what you got lined up for me for tomorrow. So I go down there, and here's my little iPhone. And then I have Dolph, his assistant, the producer, like 4 or 5 people trying to, crowd around watching the fight. And I was ready for him to say, well, change everything. And all I heard was, hey, that's good. Okay, how about that? Oh, we can say a line here. And literally, he didn't change a thing.
Dude.
And the only thing he did, he wanted to know if I knew my shit. He said, okay, Art. Because again, for a lot of these actors, it's not that they can't do it, but when you're doing master shots, it's no sense in wasting them. So they'll come in and do he did every technique, but we had like white masters where we had the stunt double for him. And yeah, the only thing is, Art, how many shots do you need me in? I said, well, Dolph, I need you in 7 shots. And I literally explained to him what shots I needed. That was it. He loved it. He was just, nothing changed. And that's what I'm saying. Instead of making small talk, I'm always doing it. I'm trying to learn, trying to be better at my craft, depending on who I'm working with Steven Seagal or Dolph or Don or whomever, And but no, I've been very blessed, and thank you all. Thank you so much. God bless you. I really appreciate this.
Oh, this was awesome.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any last questions, or are you all good?
I didn't have a question. I just wanted to kind of like what John said, but for you to make a movie like Recoil, and for me and J-Man to sit down for the first time when we're in our 40s, we've seen the action movies, we've seen them all, but we sat down and you still had our jaws on the floor. That's the biggest compliment I can give you.
Sure.
It still hit us as if we were kids pulling it off the rental store shelf and taking it home and trying to redo all those fights and crash our Hot Wheels and trying to remake all these shots. So thank you so much for that. This
was awesome.
Oh, and this is awesome movie you picked.
That was a good pick.
Probably one of my favorite episodes we've done in a very long time. But Art, you got some skill, man. And bravo on your player.
And I'm the hater of this team. Every time we do one of these movies, I come on and say, well, this is crap and this is crap.
That's why we should get Art back out when during one of your rants. He'll love it.
See the real J-Man.
Owen's thinking, oh no, Art's coming on, and
that's not the guy normally. Not him.
And I was telling him, I can't wait to discuss this movie this week because this was so great. I rewound so many parts. I watched a bunch of it a second time. I watched some parts like 3 or 4 times over. And he's like, well, good, because the director's coming on. I'm like, nice.
And Art. Recoil is such a perfect movie, but I have to nitpick. The only thing missing in it is Gary should have turned to the camera at one point and said, God's going to sit this one out.
Don't be surprised if you see it in one of my movies, man.
Listen, you said tow truck with machine gun turrets.
That's awesome.
The rest of the movie.
That is
I'm
awesome.
there.
10 out of 10. All right. Well, thank you, Art, for joining us. It's been amazing. We will definitely have you on a whole bunch more times in the future. And thank you guys for everybody joining in. And so join us next week for Uncommon Valor, which I'm looking forward to discussing. Yeah. And remember to check out John Cross's PM Entertainment podcast. First episode's out now, so enjoy that. And if you are watching, remember, you are the Action Elite.
All right.